Hello, YouTube. This is Captain Omni, and I'm coming at you with another fanfiction concept. And this one, as you can tell by the title, A Nightmare in Gravity Falls. Now, basically, this one is kind of one I've kind of like been toying with a little bit. But basically, the whole idea is it's set like a week after the whole Weird Mageddon thing, with Bill Cipher and everyone toward the end of the series of Gravity Falls, and like it's not like where Dipper and Mabel have to leave because summer vacation and everything, but it's like set like a kind of a week within there. And the whole main thing is basically what happens is because of the whole chaos that Bill caused in merging the ethereal realm and everything with you know uh Gravity Falls and everything. It's actually thrown because he's a dream demon. It's actually thrown the dream realm into into chaos, which is basically allowed Freddy Krueger to kind of like slip through and like escape his confines of just Springwood and enter into a new town. That new town, of course, being Gravity Falls. Now, basically how I'm playing it is, at first Freddy is like, alright then. But, it's kind of, which is like, he's not, he can enter people's dreams in Gravity Falls, but because, it's a new area and no one's ever really heard of him, he can't really kill them yet. Like, he can't really, like, cause enough damage to, like, do enough to really, like, inflict damage or anything. What it can do is cause extreme nightmares, and like slowly the town starts, becoming afraid of him because like everyone's having the same dream. This like Freddy Krueger guy, he's this burned guy in my dreams, and so basically. Of course, this gets the Pines family's attention. Like this gets their attention because they're like, well, it's dreams. We took down Bill. Like, what's going on here? So, yeah, like the first night thing is like he goes after Robbie, and you know, and it's kind of like he's like trying to because again Robbie's the jerk ass teenager of the town, so it's like what I'm gonna go after you, like this is like a good old days. With him, so it's like, and Robbie actually ends up being the first one to actually show signs of like physical attack. Because like he ends up becoming so terrified of Freddy in the dream that he essentially like he's the one that breaks that tips the scales into Freddy's favor, basically, because uh once Freddy hits him in the dream, it's like he's like has like claw marks on his arm when he woke up. Is like Freddy's like, well, good enough. So it's like he starts kind of like essentially like, and that's when Freddy starts really getting to it because like slowly the whole thing is Dipper, Mabel, um, and Stan and Ford, Seuss and Wendy basically have to like come together like, okay, we need to figure out what this is because like, okay, first it was dreams, now he's starting to be able to like cause physical harm. They're like, okay, this guy's scary. Okay, yeah, this guy is a little worse, maybe slightly worse than Bill, in the sense of like, okay, because Bill just wanted to take over the world. This guy's wanting to just slaughter people. Uh, so yeah, what happens from there is Bill ends up, Freddy ends up essentially like slowly, working his way into like the Pines family because they're trying to research different incantations and science inventions to like kind of stop him. My friend's like, oh no, 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 no. I dealt with this in Springwood. I am not going through this here. So it's like essentially Freddy is essentially basically going, this town, it's new, it's weird, but I'm gonna be the one that's gonna. This is my ground now. Springwood, yeah, like essentially Freddy's whole plan is to gain enough power in Gravity Falls to essentially, like, where he'll become, because he's such an unknown entity there. Like, he is unknown, but he's slowly gaining a name for himself, and he's slowly becoming more and more powerful, especially because of the already supernatural energies around Gravity Falls, that he's essentially, like, able to, like, in addition to, like, slowly becoming more feared, he's also able to, like, tap into that as more he goes along. And so, essentially, his whole plan is he's going to take all that power he's got, go back to Springwood, and then essentially, like, use that, because that's where his power is strongest, is in Springwood, to essentially, like, use that to transcend into the physical realm, but with all of his powers intact. Essentially, he wants to pull a Bill, kind of, in the sense, but the main thing, though, is that, of course, he's going to use that to slaughter and destroy at his heart's content. Not necessarily just, like, cause things to not make sense, like, but again, it's very similar to what Bill's plan was. Of course, the main difference is, yeah, there would be a lot more blood and guts. So, yeah. Anyway, and some of the dreams, I'd have it be, like, and of course, we're going to see dreams, like, there would be, like, dreams, nightmares, for the Pines family. One I had in mind for, Dipper is that, Dipper's whole thing is, like, Freddy ends up using his curiosity against him. Like, it's like, okay, you're a curious kid, it's like, so basically, Dipper's whole dream is, like, his curiosity being turned in on itself, where it's essentially like, okay, where, he ends up being faced with a mystery. Like, Freddy sets it up with, like, okay, this, everyone's disappeared in the cabin, and he's trying to find them, but as he goes along, he's just finding their mutilated bodies and everything. He's like, okay, what's going on? And then finally, it's like, okay, he sees, like, he's got a bloody knife in his hand, and Freddy essentially makes it look like Dipper's the one that did it. And then is like, Dipper's just like, no. Freddy comes out, like, yeah, sorry, kid. That was fun, but I really can't have you take credit for this imagination. So it's like, and then, it's like he's trying to, of course, Dipper wakes up, but, like, that kind of thing. Stan's nightmare would actually be, like, him having to, almost kind of like reliving that fight, the initial fight he had with Ford. But the difference is, it's Freddy posing as Ford and, like, making it worse. He's making it worse, and essentially it's like, where instead of, or he shows, or Freddy's like, when Ford gets sucked into the dimensional gateway, he's like, Freddy goes a step further and shows Stan Ford getting burned alive in everything. So it's like, and yeah, Mabel's Freddy would, yeah, I mean, you're saying, well, Mabel, she's like, yeah, Freddy would be able to get to Mabel pretty, with this one, mostly because, Mabel always wants to be pop, as, has this, thing of, like, loving her friends, she's a social butterfly. But basically the whole thing is, Freddy kind of turns that in, like he does, he turns that into something to be feared, because, like, she's, the whole side thing, like, she's being stalked by paparazzi, everything, and, eventually, they break into her house, and they just, like, eventually it's like, have her, like, oh, I get this, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, essentially, she ends up, like, having a celebrity's worst nightmare is psycho fans, and Freddy kind of makes that happen, where she's dealing with that, in the dream. So, yeah, and we just a few things, like, here or there, and, as far as, that's just, some of the ideas I had for it. Seuss's nightmare would actually be, Seuss's nightmare would actually be pretty funny. Basically, he ends up, Seuss I would actually play a bit different, because Freddy doesn't necessarily get him like the others. I would kind of play Seuss's nightmare as kind of like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer ends up going to hell. And it's like, like Freddy's trying these whole nightmarish scenarios based around what Seuss likes and everything. But the thing is, like he tries to like drown Seuss with like pizza or something like, but Seuss like eats all of it and he's fine. And Freddy's like, okay, apparently this guy's too stupid to to be afraid. So he basically Freddy just has to like go straight up, scary himself. Like, that takes the artistry out of it, you know. But anyway, let me guys comment below. Let me know what you think. And this has been Captain Omni signing off.